It's very serious. It's very serious. It's very serious.
We are here backstage at Roots Music Project with Sarah Minto-Sparks, fresh off her performance tonight.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
So good. I opened. And it was so much more enjoyable this time because I was so much less nervous than my first time playing here.
This is your second time playing Roots Music Project.
Yes, yeah. I've been here a bunch of times. I've been to the open mics, but I played the very first installment of the Songcraft series, actually, that Christopher Morse does here.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Wow, I feel like I went to that one.
I think you may have been there.
That might have been like almost a year and a half ago.
Me and Jeremy Dion or Diane, I cannot remember how he pronounces his last name.
Yeah, and
him and
not
Harper
Anna,
or something.
Not Anna Cutler, right?
The other woman performer was Harper, and she plays, I think, either banjo or mandolin and guitar, and she was amazing. She was really, really good.
And I see you've brought your bucket.
I remember. Yes, the Roots Music Project bucket. This is our tip bucket for performance tonight. I asked Jason for a tip jar that I could walk around, and it turns out this is it. So
you're gonna get to hold a lot of money in there.
Oh,
I mean, like the capacity is like.
We're gonna fill it up. It's gonna be crazy.
You should definitely tell people that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll encourage them. Tell them if we fill it up, they'll get a prize.
20 in there. Big spendas.
That's nice. My favorite holiday is New Year's.
Really?
Yes. And that's another interview question I like to ask people is, what's your favorite holiday? So,
Valentine's Day. Easy.
Valentine's Day. Wow.
Maybe Halloween, but probably Valentine's Day.
That's cool. Do you like it because you've always been in like a relationship during Valentine's Day and it's always really sweet?
No,
or
I
it's
like Valentine's Day because I haven't been in a relationship for most of them. And I think I don't know, sometimes I think the whole edgy angle of Valentine's Day is just trying to sell you shit and it's like a vestige of capitalism is true, but also lighten the fuck up. Tell your homies that you love them. Tell your dog that you love them.
Hell yeah.
I think it's the sentiment itself of it being a holiday about love and expressing that. I think you can absolutely still take that sentiment and not participate in the capitalistic, materialistic aspects of it.
And that's edgy shit anyway. No ethical consumption under capitalism and all that.
Right.
But, fundamentally, I think that's a terrific view of Valentine's Day that I haven't personally heard. And changes my perspective on it in a nice little way.
Yeah, and then the original intention of I was talking to my roommates about how we want to do a little Valentine's Day party and do the old school decorate a shoebox or a paper bag and make it into Valentine's.
Excuse me, what?
You never did that in school?
What is that?
In
wait, you mean in classroom and you're doing arts and crafts?
Yeah, when everybody brings a giant bag of candy and they sign them from, and then everybody makes a little tissue box.
It's funny the cultural things that just
in a mailbox. Yeah, for your Valentine's.
Yeah.
And I don't know, people are so, I get why people are so oh, it's just a holiday made up to sell you things, but also it would cost you $0.00 to make a little Valentine for your friends and tell them that you love them.
Yep. It's so true.
Take the sentiment.
I love that.
I'm gonna play the Rocket on Valentine's Day, which I'm so excited for.
Hell
honestly.
yeah!
I'm really, really stoked.
Is Sparks your last name?
Minto-Sparks.
Minto-Sparks.
Name, yeah.
Is there a dash between?
Yeah. So my full name is Sarah Teruko Minto-Sparks. Minto-Sparks being my last name.
What was the middle name?
Teruko. It's Japanese.
Is one of your parents Japanese?
My dad's half, yeah. My grandmother is Japanese. She's from Yokohama.
And you're from Texas?
Yes.
Wow.
And I'm also Canadian.
Cool.
There's a lot.
That's a lot, dude. That's sick. I'm mainly Venezuelan and Spanish, but why am I talking about myself? This isn't a conversation. I have to sometimes remind myself. Although it feels very nice to just kind of converse.
I mean, especially because you can cut it though, isn't it?
For sure, but interjecting into particular segments gets a little tricky. Anyway, where was I?
My stage gym? Yeah, actually, that was something that I struggled with for a little because I was going by Minto-Sparks for the longest time.
Mm-hmm. That's how it is on the poster, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And for the longest time, I don't know. I guess my hang up was that I thought that my whole name would be too long for people to remember, but then I was if people can remember Gregory Alan Isakov, they can remember Sarah Minto-Sparks.
And it has Sarah, you could not have picked a better name that.
Shout out to Carl and Anna, they could not have picked out a better name. And
Sarah Minto-Sparks, it has a really good sort of. I hate to call it mouthfeel, but I feel like words have mouthfeel. You know what I mean?
No, you're right though. It's a sick name, and I kind of like slept in my own name because two of my best friends growing up were named Sarah, so I went by Minto in high school, and it just kind of stuck. And I was like, wait, I forgot that my full name is actually Fire, so I started going by that. But
I feel like when you introduced yourself to me for the first time, you introduced yourself as Minto. And so,
yeah,
that tracks.
yeah. So lately, I'm like, I think I want to go by my full name, and then Minto as a nickname is just, I feel like anybody who actually knows me like knows that.
When can we expect some recorded music from the Sarah Minto-Sparks full name artist name?
So hopefully February 22nd. We've set my manager and I have set an internal date and confirmed a show at Gold Hill Store for Saturday the 22nd. We're not promoting it just yet because I don't want to really put that in ink until we are more sure that we can have everything kind of together and released by then. But that gives us, we're recording again tomorrow, this coming Monday, and hopefully finishing up that project, and then that gives us a good 7 or 8 weeks from the new year to finalize, send to the distributor, promo.
You said January 22nd?
February 22nd. Sorry, I
February
misspoke.
22nd.
Yeah, February 22nd.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So 8 or 9 weeks from now. It's been so useful talking to other people in the community about their experiences with recording EPs. A lot of it just psychologically because I'm an overthinker and I've been trying to just get a piece of advice or two from all my friends who have recorded, and then also just for random pieces of information, oh, you want to send your files out to your distributor 2 to 4 weeks before you actually want to be releasing, just all those little things that I wouldn't know otherwise that I'm kind of planning for.
It's nice to get the gist of what this process feels like for the first time. It's probably pretty exciting.
It's so exciting, and I'm trying to leave myself enough space to really enjoy that for what it is, because I have a bunch of other things going on outside of music in my own life. I'm still in graduate school and sorting out all of those things. And
what do you study in graduate school?
So glad you asked. I'm studying psychoactive pharmacy.
Dang. Cool.
So psychedelics and cannabis. We talk mostly about
that feels very Colorado.
Drug development. Yeah, it is very Colorado. Yeah. And I'm hoping to parlay it into work here after I graduate.
I think that's been the theme of tonight, is sort of what makes Colorado special in a way. Some of it has been its natives. We've interviewed a lot of natives here tonight. Some of it has been just the kindness and the vibe and the general sort of beauty that exists here. But I want to hear your take on it. What do you think makes Colorado great?
So let's talk about that, because actually I've been talking to a bunch of people lately about just different music scenes in different cities. And when I first moved to Boulder, I didn't really know how much of a live music scene Boulder is. Mm-hmm. I just kind of stumbled upon that. I started going to the Vision Quest open mic religiously for it was church for a year or so, and that's how I met everybody who connected me with my professional gigs. That I would not be a professional without going to that open mic. So I think it speaks to
open mics in general, but also
mics, gym, including the one here at Roots, and little jams and things like that at Oakley. But the thing that I've noticed about the music community here that I find so interesting is I've had a couple people ask me if I would want to move to LA or Nashville to try to do what I'm doing, and I'm like, no, because it's so oversaturated there. And I'm really, really enjoying the music scene in Boulder and Denver right now, because I feel like it's this nice in between where it's really popping if you know where to be, and there's so many amazing local artists and musicians here, but it's not so oversaturated or a place for that Nashville, LA, or LA are, where a lot of artists that you meet are really trying to sell themselves to you, or to the top priority is making it. And not to say that that's not a productive goal for somebody to have, but I do notice that the musicians here in Boulder, I think, are a lot more authentic to what they actually want to be doing. And I feel like I just stumble upon artists and communities like this that are just doing what they do because they find it important and not because they have any specific end goal in mind. I've personally noticed that the artists that I meet up on Gold Hill, I think, is a perfect example. There's so many dozens of artists that are living out there that are just kind of doing their thing in silence, and I almost think that's cooler than the person who's really trying to make it. And I feel Boulder just has this really nice sweet spot of you have access to all of the mobility that you would need as an artist, especially through communities here at Roots and Vision Quest and so on, but it doesn't feel so oversaturated that it feels like everybody around you is trying to to make it, like, I think ironically,
Yeah,
taking
it's
some of
not
that
the
focus
industry
away
of the
from
town,
making
yeah.
it makes people's art, I think, a little more authentic.
And the authenticity is off the charts here, honestly.
You know what I mean? Like,
It's shocking, really, how profoundly people feel connected to their craft in that regard. And to that end, actually, I have to ask, I feel like, the kind of music you're doing, you're only allowed to do it if you're like from Texas, right?
yeah.
Can we
And
get the hat?
yeah.
Can,
Yeah.
can
Oh,
we get
yeah.
the hat, please? I mean,
Oh,
like,
yeah. Yeah. And
hopefully it doesn't mess with the lights, but
I was just saying to my bestie earlier, actually, that I love doing the Western wear thing because it's relatively new for me, but nobody can tell me shit because I'm from Texas. So,
exactly.
yeah.
And honestly, it really fits. It's
Thank you.
you've got a tremendous voice for it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I think you just gotta like commit to it at a certain point because I also feel like something, I don't know if you know Troubles Braids.
Is that an
They're
artist
like a folk duo that play around here.
out here? Okay.
And they played it like one of their stickers is on the mirror actually, but that's my buddy Emily and her partner Oliver, and they like she used to be a circus performer in California, and so she like is very aware of all of these performance aspects of like the whole concept of yourself that you're communicating when you're on stage and when you're
Your
especially when you're
stage presence.
performing
Yeah.
artists. Yeah, and I think especially playing places up like Estes Park, I feel like I've been really privileged to be able to lean into the whole Texan thing. Like I grew up in suburban Dallas, like
That's about as Texas as you
like
can get on some level,
right,
right?
like it's like so Texas and also like so not Texas at the same time. So
Oh yeah, it's a
sometimes like
metropolitan city. It's like
yeah,
it's a lot like more like Miami than it is like a tiny town in Texas. Yeah.
yes, yeah. But I kind of love that though. I feel like my new EP is so like campy and so Western. I'm kind of trying to like lean into that and be like, oh, like what does this part of identity look like? And I think yeah, I just love to see artists that are really leaning into that whole like vibe and brand and being like, this is my stage presence and the way I'm gonna be like, I don't wear
It's a
this like day to
choice.
day, but it is a choice, and I
It
feel like almost like
it's
a
a
little.
choice.
My roommate and I joke around about the fringe all the time because I got this from a from that yard sale event that I did at Oakley, and
Oh, cool.
it's like literally putting on a cape, dude.
That's
Like,
sick.
so I think there absolutely are artists that like almost assume like you ever see Riley J Band play?
Wait, a
Oh my
cape. That
god,
means you're a
like
superhero.
literally.
Wow. Musicians are really doing the most.
Yeah, but you ever see like Riley J Band play? The
Of
way that she
course.
just steps on stage and she just like
Riley is really fun to take pictures of because
Yeah.
she fundamentally is owning that stage.
yeah,
She
and
is
she has so much personality and just is always like having the audience get out of her hand. And it's like
Yeah.
as somebody who's close personally with her, I feel like that's encouraged me to lean more into my own brand and be like, yeah, like that could be cool if we wore Western wear and bolo ties and cowgirl hats and everything.
Why
Like I
not?
love to see artists really
You're
really
allowed to
lean
do
into
that.
that.
And
Yeah.
honestly, it you are from Texas, so like we're not allowed to tell you otherwise.
Yeah, no, I was
That's
just
it.
texting one of my friends earlier this morning. I was like, I love wearing Western wear to my gigs because I'm from Texas, so nobody can tell me shit.
Nobody can tell you shit.
Yeah.
What's this new EP called?
Stoned I Left Rocky.
Wait, what?
Stoned I Left Rocky.
Stoned.
Yeah,
I
it's
left
the
Rocky.
last song that I played in my set tonight. Yeah.
I see.
It's a
Okay.
fun song, actually. Andres Santana, who's in Riley J Band,
Yep.
and he and Riley were the first ones to hear that song. Actually, like about a
Aw.
year ago, I'd like just written, and I was like, guys, like, oh, and like looking
This is
back,
the
that was
one.
like a little finding my sound a little bit, yeah, because that was one of the first really like finger picky Western style songs that I'd written. Yeah,
Artistic identity is a hell of a thing. Figuring it out
weird.
is a tremendous process of self-discovery, which I'm sure doing psychoactive pharmacological studies, you probably very much enjoy the process, hopefully.
I
But
think that's kind of why like anybody's a musician ever, like
it's like there's this untapped part of me that I want to let out, kind of a thing.
yeah. Well, even like when like Riley's sister visited here a few weeks ago, it was like she'd never seen Riley perform before, and I was like, you're gonna see like a different version of her on stage. Like obviously you're not gonna be like, oh my god, who is this person? But like some of the shyest musicians that I know will like just adopt this whole like persona on stage, and I feel like for me personally, it's definitely been a process of getting to know those other parts of myself.
That's tremendous. It's it's a beautiful journey. Riley, however, I feel like her stage presence and her real self are fairly similar in a way.
They're pretty
She's
much
a
one
pretty
and the same,
outspoken
yeah.
and high energy
And
person.
that's what I was saying to Corey, your sister, as I was like, you're not going to be surprised, but it's still like,
Yeah, it's turned up
even
a
if
little
you're
bit.
close with her, it's still like such a whole other thing seeing it on stage. And that's kind of what I'm trying to emulate too, is I feel like a lot of being a musician is really just like fake until you make it. Because sometimes I feel like I'm playing like dress up in somebody else's closet whenever I wear things like this, but then it's like, you gotta, like, if you're gonna wear the hat, you gotta wear it.
Yeah, I
Otherwise
mean, the booths
people
are
can
selling
tell.
it. I'm sold. The photos will tell that story as well, I'm sure, because
Yes. And thank you so much for doing that.
you're
Like,
absolutely welcome. It's
really,
my
all
pleasure.
those like supporting resources around musicians, just being like, I have clean professional pictures is major.
It's hard. Yeah, there's so many little things that they just don't tell you about what happens when you pick up a guitar too seriously
Yeah.
or start singing too seriously.
How do you mean too seriously? Like,
Well, it's just like the difference between pursuing music as a person who enjoys playing guitar in their bedroom versus somebody who wants to play in front of people. We actually are doing a full circle here. It is the act of performance,
yeah.
which is its own skilled labor that is
So
a
do you?
subset of music in a way, but it's also sort of something else, right?
That's so weird.
Yeah.
That's so weird because I feel like, yeah, I hadn't really thought about that, but all the musicians that I know have gone through that transition period at some point between doing that for themselves or in the mirror in their bedroom to being like, oh, I could do this for other people. And I feel like, honestly, sometimes I feel like I've gotten so locked into the performance aspect of things that I'm able to get out of my head by like pretending when I'm on stage like I'm just in my bedroom. Weirdly, you know?
That is a way of dealing with the performance anxiety or just sort of
Do you
coping.
get performance anxiety?
Oh yeah,
Are you
dude.
anxious
I'm
right
like
now?
shaking in here.
Yeah.
Like I can't even tell you how much anxiety just regular anxiety I have all the time. It's
Let
great.
alone the performance anxiety.
Exactly. But yep,
Is that why you like being an interviewer?
I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question. I don't answer questions. I ask the questions
No,
around here.
precisely. Precisely. That's what I'm saying.
I have this thing
How does
actually.
that make you feel?
Yeah. All right. I have this badge. It says sheriff on it.
Yeah.
And I wish I had it right now because I feel like sometimes when I'm like interviewing people and they start asking me questions, I want to like
You're
be
like, all
like,
right.
please continue to answer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a really tremendous thing that not enough people really talk about. That performance is different than music, and that they are sometimes the same thing. But in the same way that like performing in your bedroom and interviewing, or sorry, like the same way of the analogy would be performing in your bedroom, performing in front of people, and this interview show in Pink Sofa Hour.
Yeah.
Pink Sofa Hour is like a live show that you would notice the distinct difference. I definitely
Yes, this
would not
feels
be
very
hungover.
different than sitting on the couch and talking to you like in my house. I'm glad that you said that thing about, me asking people for money isn't necessarily evil, because you're so right. It is really like part of what we do as musicians, and it shouldn't be an uncomfortable thing.
It shouldn't be evil. It should be
Yeah.
you guys are performing dignified work that people value and appreciate and want to give you their money for. But I think that there is a lot more that can be said about what that value proposition looks like for any given person. Music's a really interesting thing, but I think the biggest thing that it brings is community. And I think that is a very valuable commodity in today's day and age.